Yikes. Who is that? KT McFarlane on why China is eyeing Afghanistan? Oh, that's why we have to stay in Afghanistan? Jesus. Tom Cotton slams sleeve for a call to defund ICBP. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is such a hoax? Sky News. Yeah, why don't we go to Australia?
Let's go to the United States.
Yeah, let's go to the United States. This is Sky News, everyone. And in case you don't know, this is another version of Fox News that's down there in Australia. And they know more about our political workings than anybody else in the whole world.
Kamala Harris is such a hoax.
Is such a hoax. Like, I don't even believe she actually exists. She's like the famed winged wallaby. I don't even...
Now, Kamala Harris is all identity politics, all talking points, all giggle, no actual laugh, right?
No. I mean, I don't know. I didn't hear the joke, so...
And this was made very obvious when even the people who were choosing the person to go up against Donald Trump in the Democratic primaries way back in 2019, well, they rejected her out of hand. She did not get...
Yeah, they were a bit worried that she was too tough on crime in California to actually... They were expecting Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren to go further, so they were leaning that direction. And they were ineffective.
Even one vote in the Democratic primaries because she pulled out before one vote had been cast.
Weird. It's almost like somebody in America had called the fact that she was going to be the VP, and this was just her presentation onto the world stage, and that part of her brandishing Biden's character as his VP would be that she was a woman of colour, first VP ever of that type, and had a strong history of being tough on crime, which is a big pushback on that. Fair dinkum.
So far from being the inevitable, obvious choice of the people, well, she ended up being the pick from Central Casting, the one that Sleepy and Swampy Joe desperately needed.
You got to pick one. You got to be sleepy or swampy. You can't be both. You'll fall asleep in the swamp, you drown.
To have a historic nature to his candidacy, not just old, pale and stale.
Yeah, but you got to admit it worked.
But what's been fascinating to watch since has been the reality of the person who Democrats rejected in 2019, knowing that they did not want her to be Hillary 2.0. Somebody who was a fake and somebody who normal people were going to reject.
Yeah, tell us all about it.
But you get a heartbeat away from the presidency of a particularly old and weak man. So
wait, no, she doesn't work with Trump. What are you talking about? Uh-oh.
It almost seems
hype train.
Inevitable that we will get Kamala Harris as president. But is it inevitable that she would win an election in 2024? Well, the more we see, the more that would seem to be a very big question mark. Let me give you a couple of examples.
Great. So this is, by the way, the title of this, in case you were wondering, is Kamala's staff speak of abusive workplace.
When it comes to accountability, she's a shocker.
Shocker! No.
She was handed responsibility by the president of the immigrant crisis, the illegal immigration crisis.
Yeah, obviously we don't have a legal immigration crisis.
On the southern border.
A crikey.
Where thousands of people have turned up because...
Are you Bruce? Fair income Bruce. Hello, Bruce. Bit crook Bruce.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris became the new sheriff and deputy sheriff in terms of the border. That evil orange man and his wall was to be replaced with people who believed in the dreamers and angels.
The what?
But it had been...
Well, honestly, bro, I don't know. Hey, Bruce.
Months before she decided to go anywhere near the southern border between...
Yeah, it's almost like they planned shit ahead of time. By the way, thanks for putting a little squiggly on C and facade. Instead of... By the way, virtue signaling facade starts to crumble. Whoops, I backed it up.
In the United States and Mexico. And she gets...
Well, no, most of South America.
Really cranky when it's pointed out, even on friendlies like NBC, who travelled with her to Guatemala.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
She's a fake.
She's a fake. I don't even know. I think pretty much we're watching kind of like a, what's that guy, Jeff Dunham kind of a thing. Has anyone checked under a chair for Jeff Dunham?
The glass jaw. Who thinks
it's like Waylon Flowers is hiding in the chair and she's like, madam.
It's all just about identity, and anything other than identity, somehow you are being sexist, racist, insert the other ists that mean...
The ists. No, she just said, we send people to the border. She hasn't been there personally.
Apparently the conversation finishes. Well, another thing that is...
Well, I don't know. Was that the end of the interview? Did she walk out? I know she didn't.
Inevitable that comes out of people when they hit the heights of the vice presidency, let alone the presidency.
Yeah, I mean... if anything will turn you into a monster,
is that people will leak. Now,
they'll leak.
Donald Trump's presidency, of course, was full of people who were writing books every 2 days about what was happening behind the scenes.
Uh-huh.
And
you mean he hired a bunch of liars and people who dumped you? Oh, no, you can't leak a lie. Right. Okay. So all the shit came out and it was true. Oh, I see.
Largely, the mainstream media
it's Dame Edna
in the United States would like to pretend that everything's fine with the old bloke running the joint, but they can't hide from the reality that apparently it's not a lot of fun to work for Kamala Harris. This is not right-wing talking points. This is stuff that's turned up on some of the very same websites that were happy to go all through the palace intrigue of the...
Not a healthy environment. Kamala Harris's office rife with dissent.
Trump administration. Politico is hardcore political news for hardcore political junkies.
Okay.
And it has reported that there are huge problems in Kamala Harris' office.
Yeah, they don't even show up for work. She comes in drunk all the time. They're flinging shit. It's a monster.
And the way that people are being treated, or more importantly, mistreated. Put simply, if things are awesome, it was all Kamala's doing. If it wasn't, it's all your fault.
How is it my fault? What did I do? I've never been to the... How did I cause dissent in there? Oh, I know. Because a lot of people in her office watch the live stream. Hi, guys. How are you? Big fans. Hello.
Here's just a sample. People are thrown under the bus from the very top. There are short fuses, and it's an abusive environment. Another person with direct knowledge of how Harris's office works,
said another person with direct knowledge of how Harris's office is run. Not somebody in the office, but okay.
It's always code for somebody in it, but they like to pretend it's not.
It's not a healthy environment. People often feel mistreated. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel treated like shit.
Anyway, it's not a healthy environment, and people often feel mistreated. It's not a place where people...
This is the Australian Hannity? Yeah.
People feel supported. It's a place where people feel that they are treated like...
No, Bruce, are you a pufter? Rule number 6. There is no rule 6. Rule number 7, no pufters.
SH. Here's a bit more, even on CNN, where they're talking about it.
Oh, so these are all valid news sites now? By the way, do we bother to go through all the Sky News thing where they call CNN bullshit and where Politico is just an arm of the Democratic Party and it's all just them protecting Kamala and the president? Okay.
These complaints are pretty widespread. They exist both inside the administration, inside the White House, and also inside Democratic circles and in Congress. But because the criticisms are anonymous, it's very difficult for Harris or for the White House to figure out precisely how to respond to them.
Sorry, anonymous sourcing's a problem now?
No, for them to respond to it, dum-dum.
Anonymous sourcing got more mentions in the press than Donald Trump when they were anonymous sources about Donald Trump.
What?
But nothing to see here.
Jesus Christ.
The lefty Jedi mind...
Who runs Bartertown? Ain't we a pair, Raggedy Man?
Trick. When you've seen Harris in front of the cameras and clearly how she behaves behind the cameras.
How am I supposed to see how she behaves behind the cameras? Wait, she's director now?
Where the Democratic voters will feel...
Is she below the line?
exactly the same
Is she in the PGA?
about her in 2024
Producers Guild of America?
as they did in 2019. Somebody else thinks? We'll wait. We'll see. I can't wait.
Jesus. That's, oh, good Lord. But I'm glad we covered that. The free world is run by a person who probably should find his way IMF the doc. By the way, Sky News follows the Hannity, Rupert Murdoch system of, Biden can't tie his shoes, he's incapable of everything. By the way, even though he can't tie his shoes, he's wiped out the entirety of the Trump presidency in a matter of months, whereas Trump, who's the greatest president that's ever existed in the history of America, apparently was incapable of creating anything of lasting value during his time as president. I don't know how that works out.